All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Planet Xbox Podcast. And today is a very special episode because we have a special guest, and it's no other than Destin Legarie. That felt good saying that with you actually right here. How you doing, Destin?
Hey, everybody. Gotta get the BAMs in.
Yeah, gotta get the BAM in. Gotta get the BAM in. Wow.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you joining. Like I said, I'm stoked. I'm excited. I'm trying to, keep my composure. But
I've heard you're the best bot. That was the glowing review that I got. So I was like, oh, I should try out that show.
Yeah. So I figured my DM to you when I first asked you was just a shot in the dark. I was like, let me strike while the iron's hot. And I was like, maybe I struck too late. So, but when you came back, I think it was maybe weeks later, I was like, oh, is that real? Oh, okay, let's get this started. So, I know we don't have you for too long, so we're gonna get the ball rolling with the show. A couple questions that I got to ask you. And lately, I've obviously we all know who you are. We all fans or viewers of IGN and stuff like that, and over time you get to know personalities, and so knew of you for a while. It was, and I'll get to this, it was just recently I didn't realize you started doing like content, like solo content on YouTube, so I'm definitely going to ask you about that. But before we get to that, I do want to...
I forgot my logo.
Oh yeah, put it up there.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I do want to introduce the members we got. Dude, always helping me organize this stuff, especially when I'm running late. Dope is Jay, Coke Boy Jay. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to have Destin on. I know you just recently hit 50K subscribers on YouTube, so congratulations on that. It's great to have you here on Planet Xbox. So this is going to be a really, really good episode. We have a lot of good questions to ask you.
Absolutely.
About like your journey on like how you've built up the audiences you've been able to build up and reach this stage in your life. So it's very inspirational.
It was all an accident. Yeah.
This is gonna be a great episode. Thank you.
And of course.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited, so I apologize for talking over. I'm gonna let you guys know.
Dude, like I said, every sentence I get will be appreciative. So, Old Man Logan, our resident streamer.
Hey, what's up, guys? Old Man Logan here. This is definitely different, especially it's kind of nice seeing everybody in the webcam.
Yeah.
So definitely a more, I think, personal like feel of the podcast. So I'm definitely liking it. Definitely excited to have Destin. I know probably Destin probably don't remember it all, but I played the Resistance 3 beta with him way back on the PS3 a long time ago. So
that Screw Attack days?
No, he was at IGN. It was
oh
you
my
and
goodness.
Some other lady. It's not there anymore, and that was a fun time. So yeah, definitely excited. Been a long fan of your content and stuff. So yeah.
Well, thanks. That's cool. I really like your set.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
it's all colorful, bright and stuff.
If you guys hear a baby in the background, that's my son. He's mad because he couldn't be on camera today. So.
We got and then I also want to give a shout out to our other members because it's not just only like three of us. So we got Chris is Righteous. He's our our resident PlayStation guy. But shout out to him. We got Swans or aka Def Grips. I know he just did a change name. NickBanks. So shout out to them. They did make the show today. This was different. We're usually in an audio call, but once I figured out we were getting, Destin on the show, I went to kind of present the podcast in a way that people already see Destin, and that's with these shots with the D in the background. So here we have it. So shout out to the chat, hit the like button, hit the share button, tell your friends we are live, and let's do it. So
This topic is all about why Kid Smooth is wrong about Returnal. Let's get into it, because Returnal is one of my favorite games on the place. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to sabotage your show.
No, you're not sabotaging. It's funny you bring that up, though, because I don't know if you're familiar with the community and the community versus me when it comes to video games and PlayStation games. So I had a lot to say about Returnal. I mean, up until I finally played, to me, it looks like a polished Recore with a lot of lights and more polish. But I have accepted a challenge to beat this game in under 30 hours. The reason why I'm giving these ridiculous challenges because people are under the impression that I suck at games. So I was put through the gauntlet I was put through the gauntlet on Uncharted 4 Crushing, The Last of Us Grounded, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and these all became like successful challenges. I lost some, I won some, but Returnal's the next one, and I'm doing that May 22nd. So people are going to be they're expecting me to get kind of like handled. So we shall see.
No, that's amazing, and it's kind of like you putting your money where your mouth is, right? And you're like, all right, well, I talk a lot of smack, but here I'm going to play on Crushing or whatever. I like that. I appreciate that. And hey, I think PlayStation has a thing where you can play my games. So if you need to play some Returnal, let me know, and I'll hook you up. Because I love that game, and I think you're going to like it more than you realize once you get into it.
Oh really? Okay. We will see, because I have my reservations. I had high reservations about the game. So let's get into it. This should be easy, but I got to ask, I know who you are, but who is Destin? That's the question.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah, that's a loaded answer. I'm a dad. I have a 3-month-old son. My wife is taking care of him, so I can hang out with you guys for a little bit. That is my main priority, right? Being a dad, being a husband, being a father. Next up, IGN. I work at IGN throughout the day. I'm a director at IGN, and I run what is internally referred to as the gameplay team. So all the first minutes, X minutes, a lot of the gameplay related features like the capture for the top 10s, often the scripting for the top 10s. I manage a team of full-timers there, and then we have freelancers that I also coordinate with to do a lot of our gameplay. And then at 1:30 in the morning, almost every day, I will record a rambly, probably factually incorrect at times, vlog type video for my YouTube channel, and people really like them. I don't know why.
Good. It's actually good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I'm not joking. I will go to sleep. Baby wakes up every night at 1:30, and I'm like, all right, well, what do I want to talk about today? And sometimes I'll record a few and just knock them out. But what happened was that channel went from 20,000 subs to 50 in a month.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I could do one of these a day. So I do one a day. They come out every morning at 7. And thank you to anybody who's watched that. And part of the reason I put the call out for podcasts, because I get a lot of requests to be on shows. And working at IGN and all this stuff, like, I feel like I come off inaccessible. So I was just like, let's just see who's out there, who's willing to hang out and talk to me. And I'm also terribly lonely. So just being able to talk to people once in a while is really, really fun.
we should add you on Xbox. You can play some games together.
Let's do it. I got to get my Microsoft reward points every day. So I've been playing The Garden Between, I think it's called. Pretty easy one. It's easy for the quick 50 points or whatever every day. Yeah. And that's why I played through Hellblade again. And what's it called? Platinum? That's not Platinum on Xbox.
Yeah, it's Diamond.
I diamonded Hellblade on Xbox, which was really, really good.
That's a fun game.
Man, I'm really excited for Hellblade 2, actually. The performance by Melina Jurgens, I think I got her name right. Oh God! If I didn't, this is not the show to get her going on.
I forgot her name as well, but she did a really good performance on there as well. It's amazing what they were able to do in terms of capturing her facial animations. And have you been keeping up with Ninja Theory? I've been
following her. I subscribe to her channel because she posts like behind the scene like blogs and stuff of what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Jurgens has been showing the combat training and the facial animation she's been working on. And it's really, really, really cool stuff. And I was doing a little bit of Googling for who's using Unreal Engine 5 stuff. And Hellblade 2 is one of the games on that list, as well as the Coalition's Next Gears game and whatever else they got in the cooker. And that's really, really exciting. Yeah, that's it.
So
Sorry.
you sort of like kind of bled into the next question because I was gonna ask, like, when did you? Because I didn't. Did you always have a YouTube channel, like, and just never had time for it, or you literally just started one?
Here's the funny thing. So I never knew what I was going to do with that YouTube channel. IGN allows people to create content during their personal time, as long as it doesn't conflict with work. I was the first pioneer of the program, and the first video I did was called Breaking the News, where I told people that companies are making billions of dollars off of microtransactions, and that video was published in 2015. And if you do not want the industry to go towards a free-to-play microtransaction model, you need to stop doing it. Fast forward to yesterday, and Ubisoft is like, hey, we're pulling back on the AAAs. We're still going to do AAAs, just not as many, and we're going to focus on the free-to-play model. And I'm like, oh, no! I don't want to be right. Yeah, so for me, I try... I've been guilty of it. Like when Destiny 1 was out, I went microtransaction crazy, creating like montage videos. But I hit a point where I'm just like, I do not want to support that business model. So I just refuse to spend money on like cosmetics, or like in Destiny, you can buy silver and then buy things. And I haven't spent $1 in Destiny 2. So beyond the packs and the seasonal passes.
You know what's crazy? When that post came out, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit because over the last couple of years, I've been kind of falling in love with Ubisoft and their games. Like obviously the recent Assassin's Creed games have been my favorite. Immortals: Phoenix Rising was like a surprise hit for me. So to learn that they were gonna kind of go like lean like the route, I don't play free to play games at all. It's just not my thing. It was like, oh damn, that's not what I wanted to hear. I want more of what you guys have been doing. You guys are been on a roll. Like, you know, you drop like usually about 4 AAA games a year. They're usually all sort of like the same type in different genres, but it's I mean, some of them hit. And Assassin's Creed and Valhalla, they like, you know, and even the latest Watch Dogs, all hit for me. They were all like just fun games that I've played through. So
I give some further clarification on the Ubisoft thing. So there was this guy on Twitter, I think it was Sean Boppin. I think he's somebody from Ubisoft, but WCCF Tech like posted an article about that, and then they literally clarify in the article that some of the Ubisoft comments from their financial earnings call were taken out of context, and that they're expanding upon their AAA model by adding free to play. So I don't know how true that is, but if they're like completely shifting from their current model of releasing 3 to 4 AAA games to just say, hey, we're going to do free to play and that's it, that would be a bit disappointing. But I think having a combination of both is what they're looking at to increase revenue for them.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to start with their for sure hitters. So I think the first thing they announced was like the next Division. Is that supposed to be like free to play?
Yeah, there's a free-to-play version of Division coming out pretty soon.
And then what about
Division Heartland? And I don't mean to promote IGN, but one of our writers, Rebecca Valentine, has been doing a really, really good job of diving deeper into the stories. I have a lot of respect for what our news team has done. Fun fact, I'm actually not involved with news whatsoever on IGN. Like, it's a whole different branch, and it's run by a whole different team. And I'm really, really proud of the strides that IGN and we have made there. Check out Rebecca Valentine's articles, because she really dives into how Ubisoft says it will focus less on AAA games, but what does that actually mean? That's the title of the article. And the quote, to answer your question there, Jay, was, in line with the evolution of our high-quality lineup that is increasingly diverse, we are moving on from our prior comment regarding releasing 3 to 4 premium AAAs per year, says Frederic Duguay. He's probably French, so I'm doing the accent.
He is.
Ubisoft CFO on the earnings call yesterday. Additionally, we are building our high-end free-to-play games to be trending towards AAA ambitions over the longer term. So that was
trying to bridge the gap between the two.
That's what it sounds like to me. So it's sort of like one of those things where you got to sort of read between the lines. Where, like, look at what EA did. EA did Anthem, right? And Anthem was that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to get a game like Destiny where players would get hooked, get on that grind, just like they do with Division 2, just like they do with Destiny. And it just flopped. It didn't work out for them. And you have to be nervous for Ubisoft when they're just like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. But they have the financials. They're saying, look, we can release another AAA game, or we can release Just Dance 2021. Which will make the same amount of money and uses a fraction of the resources to do that. And Rainbow Six Siege has just been a massive cash cow for Ubisoft. And that game was made what? I can't even remember when it came out.
2015.
2016.
Yeah, it's a really old game. I think a great example of that, of what they're trying to do, if you look at Titanfall 2, right? Titanfall 2 was like sandwiched in between the release of a bunch of FPS games, but then Apex Legends got spawned from it, and that was free to play. And Apex Legends is a cash cow as well. So I think they're trying to do something similar with some of their franchises that they have on Ubisoft and say, hey, we have some of these big, like, heavy hitters. Let's see if we can get a free-to-play version. You see, like, The Division right now. Like, The Division 2 had the Resurrection when they did the next-gen update. They're going to drop Heartland. They have The Division Mobile coming out soon. So that's a game that came alive. So hopefully they can do something similar to what EA did and catch lightning in the bottle with Apex Legends.
The thing about...
Maybe, but what do you think that would be? Just to press you a little bit more on your idea of creating an Apex Legends type property. What would pitch your perfect game?
I was just thinking.
Well, I don't know what the game would be. That's the thing. They have to figure that out. Yeah. I don't get paid the big bucks for that. I can't give them free ideas.
I was just going off of like, Ubisoft was the ones that put out that Hyperscape, that was a free to play game that
that flopped
terribly last year.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just shocked of this news in general, with them kind of already having like a failed attempt of a game just in the free to play market, because I don't see anybody talking about Hyperscape anymore.
Yeah, I think the strange thing is like, I feel like Ubisoft in a lot of their games kind of shoehorn like the game as a service model even into their single player games. I don't know if you guys have been into like Assassin's Creed, but those games like last like years because of the amount of content, the amount of updates that they do with those titles. And I think, and then Valhalla just got its first expansion today. I would blame probably COVID for like the long wait, but that is expected to have like probably another year or so worth of expansions just for that game. I would hope they wouldn't just go and start putting, because when I think of free to play games, I think of just cheap games, just cheap multiplayer games. I would hope they would approach their IPs that are most played, and then I guess lean them towards more of a games as a service if they want to keep their IPs alive, their good IPs, instead of like investing into these cheap thrills and then hoping those catch fire, because that can backfire just a ton. I mean, I think the success of games like Rainbow Six and people spending a ton of money and the Assassin's Creed games and whatnot, because they make a ton of money off the microtransactions in that game, is probably leaning them in that direction. But I believe those games are fairly expensive and they do take a lot of time to put out. And I think there's like 3 studios that does Assassin's Creed games. I think each one that came out in the last 3 years are all by at least 2 or 3 different teams.
I would have to read more on that. Like, I don't know.
All right, so oh, I got it. That's why I kept this super chat. Chris Righteous, one of our members, he says, 100. Shout out to Destin for speaking truth about Returnal. So
Shadow remembers me from when I built a PC and probably did it terribly. Thanks, Shadow, for that reminder.
So you've been doing more content, on your channel, and I've been catching on to it. I was like, oh, okay, and I'm an Xbox guy. I'm an Xbox fan, so I kind of latch on to people doing content about Xbox, especially if I didn't think they cared. You've been on. I'm used to the IGN days, right? And you're most famous. I don't know if this is like true, but from what I remember, is the infamous 1080p versus 720p photo, the meme. So that picture, that because I still see that image till like today. I think I actually have a copy saved in one of my files somewhere, because I tried to replicate it once. I think I made when I was making fun of like a Puddlegate for Spider-Man, I did the same pose, but that photo, tell me how that came about, and then how has the reception been for you as the person doing the pose, because for Xbox fanboys it was a weapon. It was a weapon used against Xbox fans. But for you as the person that did the pose, they got the article, the video, the clip. How has that experience been? Like, who thought of it, and then what was the reception towards you after it went out?
So I thought of the pose. I ran it by our lead at the time, who's no longer at the company. And they're like, hey, you're probably going to get a lot of crap for doing this. And I was like, whatever, I'm sure it'll just blow over. It didn't blow over for years. People still send me that photo and have Photoshop nightmare fuel into that photo. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. It was a story about Thief, and Thief ran natively at 900p on Xbox One, and it ran at 1080p on the PlayStation 4 standard. And back then, honestly, everybody watching, and you guys on the panel, when you see stuff that's not going good, you have to call it out, because otherwise, you're just sitting there and you're like, yeah, this is cool. I want my games to run at 900p, and I want them to run lower. Like, if you watch the Returnal performance review, I actually got to ask Housemark. I'm like, hey, you're running at a base resolution of 1080p. What's going on there? And they're like, well, we upsample, or we TAA up to 1440p, and then we upsample from there to 4K. And the reason that we do that is because it was an artistic choice. We could have ran at 1440p native. Anyway, I'm getting too nerdy. I apologize.
No. I like this talk.
Continue.
Go.
Yeah,
You're good.
So it was really fascinating, and the reason somebody pointed out that I do performance reviews, and they're one of my favorite series. Gears 5 was the first game I did a performance review
Good job.
on. What they were able to do with the Xbox Series X, the Coalition is insanely talented. It looks all like I have an insane PC for work, and what they were able to do with the Series X was comparable to what that PC could do, if not better in some scenarios.
Yeah,
and I was just
Ultra.
I was blown away with what they were able to do. And of course, you know, it has 120 support and multiplayer and everything. So Gears 5 was my first, but I asked them about the frame rate dips in the Red Sands levels, and they talked about why they're working on that and developing it, right? So that thumbnail for me is just a time in Xbox history where it's just like, hey, you guys are not meeting the mark for what Xbox gamers should be getting for their product. Right. And I try and do that. I try and deliver that with humor. And that one just was one of those cases where I don't think I considered the fact that it would be weaponized against me and against everybody else in the Xbox community. Right. That wasn't the goal of it. The goal of it was to be sort of tongue in cheek and fun. And sometimes you don't realize how impactful something like that will be. So for me, I don't think I would make a something. Well, I don't want to be quoted like I would never make a thumbnail like that again. But I think had I known it would have caught on the way it did, I probably would have just done a dumb pose or something like that. Or held Thief. I could have held my Xbox and made a sad face. No, that wouldn't have gone over well. I could have held Thief. I could have held Thief and made a sad face. You know, like there's other things I could have done, but the goal was humor, not bias. Which is basically what everybody called me on. And it's weird to be called biased because actually, I'm biased towards Xbox. It's been my favorite platform since. Probably, I would say the 360 era, because back when the original came out, I was probably leaning a little bit more PS2, you know, because PS2 had tons of stuff. They just had a wider library, and Xbox was the new kid on the block. But I mean, I think all of us, Halo was a game changer. Halo made Xbox, basically, in that era.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so anyway, I hope I answered your question about the thumbnail, and if chat has any further elaborations or criticisms about it, let's talk about it now. I'm totally open to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was always curious. I mean, back then, I mean, I was very salty about it. I'll admit that. It was one of the things I was like, what's going on with these guys? But it was, I mean, it was accurate, but I think at the time, resolution gate, that's what we called it, and that was at the height of it, and believe it or not, like stuff like that is the reason I feel like Digital Foundry is like one of the most viewed like tech channels now because of that. Because now we all want to know the resolutions and the frame rate, and we all want to use it as a weapon.
Digital Foundry is excellent. Check out this channel, youtube.com/IGN Games. Type in performance review, because Digital Foundry is my inspiration to create better graphics comparisons for IGN, right? We do frame rate analysis. I do pixel counting manually, and we have this guy NX Gamer on board now.
NX Gamer is amazing.
He's insanely intelligent. He's insanely intelligent, and he does really excellent work on the channel. He just did a good piece about the Ratchet and Clank reveal. He's wrapping on his Resident Evil cross-platform analyses, and I'm humbled to be working with him. Digital Foundry, like Linneman has reached out and been like, IGN's doing really, really good work. They handle their frame rate analysis in an interesting way where I want to use that to create my findings. And the way that the process works for my video is I find everything I can out, I present my findings to the developer, and I give them a chance to comment. And I'm like, do you want to comment on any of this? So like the coalition was like, yes, let's talk about the good and the bad. And we talked about everything, about what they're doing with their... If you look, and I'm learning so much while I'm doing this, like if you look at what they do, they actually are rendering different parts of the screen at different resolutions, because do you need that piece of foliage over there to be the max texture and everything like that? No, you don't. So they're utilizing the engine in such an interesting way, and honestly, they're at the top of their game when it comes to Unreal tech, in my opinion. And then on the Sony side, we have companies like Insomniac. Insomniac is so insanely talented with what they've done with Spider-Man. That is like hands down the biggest loss Xbox has had in the last decade. I don't know what Sony had to sweeten the pot, but that's a bad one. And I have tremendous respect for what their technical team is able to accomplish. And the thing is, on both sides of the console spectrum, there's hugely successful people making amazing things right now, and it's just a really, really exciting time, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Insomniac is one of my favorite developers of all time. They have a ton of... That's why I was so stoked when they were decided to work with Xbox for like Sunset Overdrive. I enjoyed the crap out of that game. Ratchet and Clank has always been one of my favorite like platformers. I don't want to say I grew up on well, technically I prefer like the Ratchets and the Jak and Daxters over like the the 2D stuff, but of that generation of platformers that were out, the PlayStation had like the big three of platformers. It was Ratchet, Sly, and Jak. And Ratchet and Clank was just my favorite. My cousin liked Jak and Daxter. I had another friend that liked Sly, but I would play through all the Ratchet and Clanks. And then when they finally remade the remade, I don't know if it was a remake of the first one / the movie / game. I thought that was incredible. I had a great deal of time with that one, and I got my PS5 again in time for Rift Apart. So I'm looking forward to that one. Nice. I know it's going to be incredible. So.
Yeah, I actually, I'm really happy that you brought up Sly Cooper, because I wasn't into Jak. A lot of people love Jak and Daxter. That wasn't for me. I love Sly Cooper, but then Ratchet came out, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this one's definitely the coolest game that I was a huge fan of.
No, absolutely.
I feel Logan hasn't said anything. Logan, what is your favorite Insomniac game?
Oh, my favorite Insomniac, I would definitely have to say, the first, or Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, definitely one of my top tier. I'm Miles Morales. I kind of actually liked content-wise better. I know that might be a little bit weird to say, but I kind of like Miles more as a Spider-Man than Peter Parker. So Miles Morales was definitely my game of the year last year for sure. I'm excited for Ratchet and Clank. I played the Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time when those came out on the PS3, and then all the PS2 ones. I was actually looking at. I think they got the PS3 remaster collection. I think I want to buy in a digital store and kind of play through all those again, and get into the mood for Ratchet and Clank again in June. So definitely a great studio. Xbox definitely lost a big developer right there when they
I see. I don't want to say Xbox lost them because Xbox never. They had a working relationship with one game. If Xbox would have gotten Insomniac, it would have been a loss to Sony because they work on a Sony owned IP. Ratchet has always been on, PlayStation. It's a PlayStation IP, and they made it. So I think that would be a bigger loss to PlayStation if Xbox got them than it is a loss to Xbox. Now, the fact that if they were on the market, the thing that hurts is to know that they were up for sale and Microsoft
just let them go.
That's the thing that bugs me. It's like, why not? And then now it's paying dividends because they're putting out quality games at an extremely alarming rate. It's like,
I think what's the 2 games on Xbox? Is that Fuse was from Insomniac? And then Sunset Overdrive, if anybody remembers that Fuse game.
Fuse, that was the multiplat. Yeah, I don't even think
multiplat. But I think those are like literally the only 2 games that's on the Xbox platform from them.
Yeah,
it's sad to see, but
the tech in Sunset Overdrive was used to make Spider-Man, so that just stings a little bit more, Yeah. Jay, you have any thoughts?
Then they'll be using that tech to make Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yeah. On the NX Gamer thing, I've known about MX Gamer for like the past year and a half, and he makes amazing content. Very intelligent guy. Got a lot of information about Ampere and RDNA 2 from him, so excellent talent. It's great that you guys have him. I'm pretty sure you're learning a lot of things from him because I learned a lot of things about these consoles and PC hardware from him. Also seen him. I learned about him from Moore's Law is Dead podcast. I learned about them from there, and then just subscribed to his YouTube channel and kept up with him for a while. So, great guy. I'm glad to see that you guys are really expanding the kind of content that you're doing on IGN and getting really, really in-depth analysis for these games.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a big passion project for me. So to hear that it resonates with people really means a lot.
Yeah, when you did it, and we'll get on to next questions, but when you did I was very, very impressed when you did the Gears one. I was like, holy crap, this is actually, because you were covering things, and a lot of stuff that you mentioned, which hold true. You were covering things that when you get these analysis that aren't, there's no dev input for the most part when you're watching other comparisons and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, he has an answer for every either flaw that he pointed out or how they got this thing or like and I think they were using like VRS, and that's why the whole different resolutions for different items that weren't needed and stuff like that. So it was a very informative thing, and I actually learned a lot from your analysis there. And I was like, dude, you got to do more of these. So and then you guys hire NX Gamer, and you guys have been putting out like some compelling stuff. So Destin, so you've been doing YouTube, been doing a lot of videos, a lot of Xbox takes, and I gotta ask you this because you were there for the worst, and you're now here for the good, the recovery. What do you feel was the turning point for Xbox? Like what is it? What was it? Like, what do you think is the turning point from where they were to where they're at now? What was the change?
1X.
1X?
Yep. That was when they started getting their stuff together. I feel like we knew that it would be a long road, right? It's still a long road ahead, but the word of mouth is getting around now. People are recognizing how good Game Pass is. You see a lot of people who've largely been PlayStation-centric gamers for a long time who are like, I have both consoles, and here's the crazy thing. I'm playing my Series X all the time. But I think the 1X, I was at a conference where Phil Spencer spoke, and he spoke about backwards compatibility. And he said basically, we are going to support games across the Xbox family into the future. And it was one of those things where you sort of react and you're like, oh, I don't know. And like you have your personal reaction to it. But he was so sure and confident in the direction that they were going that it was clear that he had a trajectory they're looking 5 years ahead. Like we're in this right now. We're looking at Game Pass. We're talking about E3. We're excited about E3, the RDNA tech, how they're improving their shadows and all that cool stuff, right? They know what's going to happen 5 years from now. They've had the Bethesda acquisition. They're probably talking about other acquisitions. And everybody's like laser focused on Halo Infinite right now. What's going to happen with Halo Infinite? What's going to happen in 2023? That's what I'm thinking about, because I have this theory that I think next year, maybe late this year, we got our major exclusive Halo Infinite, right? For Xbox. We Xbox gamers. We're on an Xbox show, so that's what I mean by we. And then next year we get maybe 2, 3. And then the year after that, I think that's when we're at parity with where PlayStation 5 is at. Because there's no denying PlayStation 5 has really been knocking it out of the park with their AAA experiences, right? Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank. Daniel agrees. And I think going forward with the Xbox generation, 2023 is going to be the year, I think. I think we're going to have a great lead up to it. Later this year is going to be, I'm predicting it's going to be good. I think next year is going to be great. And I think the year after that is when it really hits its stride. And it's just like, and all those conversations about where the exclusives are going to get really quiet.
Yeah. And that brings me to the next, because you've been high on Game Pass as well, and it's still, I know it's still early, and we're starting to see some real fruits. And I'll tell you this, and before I would say Game Pass didn't do anything for me really until maybe 2019, 2020 was when I started to starting to use it, because when they first the service was front loaded with a bunch of games that I either already owned at that point. So now we're getting to the thing, like these new day and dates and stuff, where I'm like, oh, okay. So my question to you, Destin, is how has Game Pass impacted your game consumption? Has it impacted it in any way?
Well, I mean, the most immediate example is MLB. I never would have played a baseball game in my life, but I made my stupid Waluigi character, and I started playing MLB The Show and just having a good time. I actually really like sim sports games when I get into them, but I have to have that entry point. And with Game Pass, you just have this easy entry point to play all sorts of things. Daniel's almost for bedtime, so we might hear my baby a little bit. My wife's got him. I'm not being negligent as a father. Lost my train of thought. When your baby cries, dad mode kicks in for a second.
No, I got it.
Yeah. So they have a lot of games, and what's been really interesting is I also got sort of obsessed with Microsoft Rewards. So I've been signing on, playing a lot of these smaller indie games. We talked about The Garden Between, I believe it's called, which is a game I'm just doing for Easy Gamer Score. Somebody said Doom is a really easy Gamer Score one. I did all the challenges for the month or whatever. I'd never played Evil Within, so I finally played Evil Within. I hadn't really played too much of Elder Scrolls. I played Elder Scrolls, so it's just this great buffet of games, and you can sort of sample what you like. But every once in a while, you're like, oh, Hellblade. I never finished Hellblade. I'm gonna finish that game, and I'm gonna get 1,000 gamer score and diamond it, and that's been the best for me with Game Pass and why I like it. Oh, and Donut Country was actually the Xcoin in chat just pointed out Donut County.
Yeah.
And that is actually a fantastic game. You just play for 10 minutes and you pop your achievement for your 50 cents every day.
Yeah, it's hilarious. That's a fun game.
Yeah, Rain on Your Parade was.
Rain on Your Parade.
It gave me Game Pass has definitely been opened up an opportunity for me to play a lot of games that I wouldn't have gone out of my way to really look into. It definitely gives the spotlight for especially indie titles, which I have no problem trying out new games and stuff. It's just usually when they put them indie titles out at $15, $20 price tags, I'm a little iffy on. So having Game Pass be able to have that just instantly subscribe to it and then boom, be able to download whatever. Also, if we're talking about, I figured I'd bring it up since we're talking about the reward points. There is that challenge for I think 20 days now where if you get 10,000 gamer score, you get 10,000 reward points. So
well, you know what game's right around the corner that's going to really help me with that. Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
But I put out I did put out a list on Twitter of I think what would be the easiest. You could literally probably do it in a day, and I had a mix of cheaper games and Game Pass games that could easily get you to that 10K if you haven't played them.
Do you have that list right now?
I throw that out there because we were talking about the MS rewards.
What are the top 3, Logan?
The top 3, I know Donut County was one of them. Rain on Your Parade. If I'm looking at Game Pass wise, Full Throttle, Rain on Your Parade, Doom 64, Donut County, those are like 4,000 right there, easy. And then I put in a couple $5 games.
It's Fractured.
Look up if you want 3,000 points easy. Bullet Beat. Say Bullet Beat. Yeah, look up Bullet Beat. You get 3,000 about 20 minutes.
Is Fractured Mind still on Game Pass?
No, I think that got removed.
I was about to say, because that was like one of my quickest.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you're looking to get that 10K reward points, there's definitely a lot of games on Game Pass that you can just knock right out of the park. And then especially with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which I think Mass Effect Legendary Edition has 3,000.
Yeah, it would have 1,000 per game, right?
I know that they put some. I haven't really looked at the achievement list. I know that they got some new stuff in there because I don't think they have the multiplayer achievements.
You're forgetting the expansions. The expansions had achievements also. So assuming that those.
So
I think the achievements leaked, right?
Yeah,
so
the achievement list is up. There is available 2,915. So I think they might have removed some stuff. Yeah, there's 2,915 points available for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Okay.
I'm assuming
unless
something
the first game wasn't a full, because remember when the 360 games, right? Not all of them require like 1,000. There was like some games that stopped at like 600, and like I forgot what. I had some games that stopped at like 5.
Condemned Criminal Origins was at 970.
970. Yeah, that was.
But
OG Mass Effect 1 did 1,000. It's one of my.
Yeah, it did 1,000, then 200 with the DLC.
Yeah, so I wonder why. Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird total, 2,915, but that's what I'm showing on True Achievements is what they got.
And somebody asked, is Mass Effect going in Game Pass? Not immediately. Eventually,
I wouldn't think at all because they already have the 3 Mass Effect games,
the classic ones. But no, it'll eventually end up in the vault of EA Play, which will by default put it in the Game Pass. So, but that's going to be in about like maybe 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, you can play the OGs right now, which are also still fantastic.
Just to see them old comparison videos of the 360 version from like 20 some frames to what 60 FPS is going to look like on that. Because that was a very tough game to play.
So I actually partnered with EA on a performance review talking about some of the enhancements that will be in the Legendary Edition, and that's been live for a while. You can check that out on youtube.com/IGN.
I
don't mean to keep promoting myself, but like I'm proud of my work.
If you look if you go on a podcast, the first thing you should see after playing Xbox is Destin Legarie and your YouTube
your channel there.
Nice.
The other question is like, so one of my favorite features of this gen on Xbox is FPS boost and quick resume. And my question to you is, like, they're my favorite feature, but how has FPS boost and quick resume? Is there a feature that maybe I'm not paying attention to that you like, or how have your experience been with like quick resume and FPS boost?
I like quick resume a lot. When I turn my Xbox on for the day, you're just into your games really, really quick, so I enjoy it. And it got enhanced today, I think. The FPS boost is nice. Because I do a lot of game capture, I'm usually actually forced to play at 60 FPS because unless I'm doing analysis, so you can only capture, I believe, up to 1440 120 because of how HDMIs work, and there's no capture device that can do 4K 120 yet on the market. So if I'm playing at 120, I'm usually playing at 1080 because I have to do a custom EDID to do capture of 1440 120. And I don't even think I have the analysis tool that can handle that resolution. Anyway, the point is, FPS boost is really cool. When I'm just chilling on my TV, I like that 120 FPS. And the fact that they're able to support developers in that way is honestly my favorite feature, because I think we're going to see the benefits of that in the near future with newer games. Because right now, the backwards compatibility support has just been absolutely phenomenal. They're just like, hey, throw this thing on your game and you can bump it up to 120 if you want. And I love that. But for me, like, what do I get the most out of? I don't know, the fast hard drive. Like, I don't think we've seen an Xbox game that has harnessed the new abilities of the console yet.
Yeah, not
I think
yet.
that's coming soon, though.
What do you think is going to be? You say it's coming soon, so I'm just
Halo.
trying to Halo. You think? You think Halo? Because I mean, you're not concerned about because this is the question. I'm only asking you because this is the questions I get a lot. You're not concerned about its wide range of availability on different platforms. 2013 Xbox One VCR console, and being that it has to run there, has to be on xCloud, different range of PCs. Do you think they'll be able to? I don't foresee Halo Infinite being like a dramatically different game between the platforms. But
I think you're wrong.
Think I'm wrong? Oh,
I think Halo Infinite's going to be a hit, and I think all of this early talk about worries about Halo Infinite and everything. You got to remember, it's going to have a free-to-play multiplayer component.
Yep.
You're going to be able to play with your PC friends. It's going to be input-based matchmaking, which is actually a really, really smart way to do it. As long as they don't have hackers and cheaters, I think it's going to be a really, really good game. It's really unfortunate that their first gameplay demo resulted in the Craig meme.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I get it. Right? But it's definitely a bummer for the Xbox brand, because that's one of their flagship series. But I don't know, man. I just have a really good feeling about Infinite. If you read their last dev blog, they're clearly passionate about working on this game. They clearly care. They brought back Staten to make sure things were going well. They talked about how the storytelling is going to be sort of like dynamic, and I think we got a hint of what that's going to be like in the gameplay demo. I'm really, really excited for Infinite.
No,
and I'll stick to that until I'm proven wrong. Halo Infinite's going to be great. That's my guess. Whatever you think, you're entitled to that, but I have high hopes.
No, I've been sticking up for Infinite this entire time. I said the same thing. It's like, why would you delay the game an entire year and it's not going to come out better? Especially when you're putting so much time into making the product that we've seen last year even better now. So I believe because they should be showing Halo Infinite pretty soon. They did tease that we're going to be seeing some more of Halo Infinite pretty soon. So I believe the next time we see the game, it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to get my hands on that game because I'm a huge Halo fan. You guys know I've been lobbying Planet Xbox to say, yo, we need to get on a live stream and play together and have a Planet Xbox Halo session.
Hey, I'm down for it.
I love Halo, and I know I'm going to enjoy Halo Infinite. I'm probably in a minority. I think Halo 5 is the best Halo multiplayer. Like, to me, it's hands down the best Halo multiplayer since Halo 3, in my opinion. I think Halo Infinite, I'm looking forward to it, but the question was, because Destin, you said we all agree we haven't seen any game that harnessed the Xbox Series console, and I mean we're getting resolutions and frame rate, but we're not seeing anything yet of, like, with the example of what Ratchet has done on, like, PS5 and whatnot.
I sort of say that with a caveat. I think the Gears 5 performance review really does show what it's capable of, but nobody's built it from the ground up to harness the Series X power.
Gotcha. So, but you think Halo's going to showcase that?
I think Halo will be one of those games.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope you're right.
Me too.
So last generation, it was pretty much a landslide. It was one-sided, right? I feel we can all agree. I feel like Xbox is more competitive this time around with PlayStation, and how do you see the generation like turning out this time around? If Xbox is to continue its stride of being more competitive, we know where they're going heavy at like Japanese support, and that's turning in dividends. There's games that are coming out day and date that weren't a question last generation. How do you think Xbox will fare this time around? I don't know, 7 years from now.
Do you want my this is my honest Destin answer. This isn't official analysis or anything like that. I think Xbox is going to win. And I honestly absolutely believe in their future over the next 7 years. I think Sony has the market lead right now, and I think Xbox has been building the foundation to build the house for a long, long time. And over the next few years, they're going to even that gap between Sony. you already look at console sales. Both console sales, right? Like just looking at that, both consoles are sold at a loss. So it's not about the console, it's about the game. So any narrative that Xbox is the only one taking a loss, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. Everybody takes a loss on console hardware. Maybe not Nintendo, but Nintendo's playing their own game. Sony is going for the AAA games. They've made that very, very clear. Yes, they're still supporting indies, but Xbox is building a foundation, and I just think we're going to see that gap narrow. And I'll do the same graph I did in my video where I was talking about it. This is what's going to happen over the next few years. And eventually they're going to hit parity. And then I think Xbox will come out on top the same way that the PlayStation 3, by the end of the 360 life cycle, ended up selling more units than the Xbox 360 did, believe it or not. Because I think we all think of that console generation, and you're like, oh yeah, the 360 one. Well, actually, it didn't. If you look at the numbers in terms of console sales.
Console sales, yeah, but software was a different story because Xbox Live, that alone just put 360 over the top. Microsoft were profiting a lot. And they remember during PS3, they were struggling a lot with like data breaches, and they had to file a lot of lawsuits against them, and there was a lot of legal trouble they had to deal with back then as well.
You're right, Jay, but they were setting the foundation for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, for PS4.
And then the PlayStation 4 came out, and it was bam. And then Don Matrick just, I guess he really hated Xbox.
Yeah, he didn't know what he was
want
doing.
To talk about that name.
Yeah, one of the first video that I did, that was the turning point for my channel. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Was like the day that Xbox almost died, and I just talked about the story when Satya Nadella and Phil sat down, and they basically said, "Are we going to cancel Xbox?" And Phil could have just went and did whatever he wanted, but he said, "No, this is what I want to focus on for probably the rest of his career," because he's been doing it now for what, a decade? Like, I don't think he's going anywhere. And I think that's why people have so much respect for him. And when you look at these epic emails that have been leaked, and you look at how Sony's been communicating with people behind the scenes and how Xbox has, it's night and day. Yeah. It's night and day. It's really, really interesting like that. Julian says, Destin has to be crazy. Xbox outselling PS5. He's smoking crack. It's great. It's the best stuff. No, don't do that. But I truly think that I think we're going to see a shift. And I think they're playing different games. Xbox is a game of services. Mm-hmm. Sony is just going to keep knocking out banger AAAs. I'm not saying like Sony's going to do bad or lose. I'm just saying Xbox, a lot of people are going to be playing Xbox in the coming years. And that's just my honest personal opinion. I just see the writing on the wall. Phil is too dang smart, and the people working with him are too dang smart. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're setting up the dominoes to knock them down.
Yeah, absolutely.
The investment's there.
Mm-hmm. Max B says for his super chat, he says, "Does Destin think we will get Starfield this year?"
Yes.
And that leads to one of my major questions. Wow, I'm losing my voice. With that, Starfield, if that's a possibility, I'm sorry. So, if true, right, and there's rumored for Forza Horizon 5, and we know Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
I said on Twitter that...
And the Jez Corden Swirl Dragon game. Come on, Jez. What's with the swirl?
Yeah, well, the swirl isn't... The swirl and the dragon are different, right?
I think they're the same.
Or the same? Okay. The IO game, okay. There's a chance, right? Because at the start of Xbox, the biggest thing that, naysayers saying they're not launching with any exclusives. They still got no games. As of today, Xbox have no games. To potentially, by the year is over, having Halo, Forza Horizon 5, which is a fan favorite, and potentially Starfield. If that does happen, how would the narrative shift? Because right now, the narrative, even though Xbox is doing great, the hit against them is compelling software. How would that change if that was the case this year?
I think it'd get a lot quieter. I mean, honestly, like I think that a lot of people have hypothesized that Bethesda's going to do their Bethesda thing, and they're like, Starfield's coming out this year. They did that with Fallout 76, and I think they did that with Fallout 4.
Yep.
Yeah, they announced it at E3, and it was out that November.
Yeah, and I think they might have did it with Skyrim. I don't remember that. That was too long ago. Daniel says no. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Starfield will be a surprise game. So if it's not this year, then it's a surprise for next year. I think Forza is a pretty safe bet for something this year, because we know they're doing the testing and stuff right now. So I don't know how far along that game is. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's, even if it's not these games, if there's 2 or 3 bangers this year, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's all about approaching parity, which is good for the market. If Sony, look at what Sony, they invested like 1.5 billion into their services.
Yeah.
So guess what? If you're a Sony gamer, that means because Game Pass is starting to steal their thunder a little bit, they're looking at their options, and they're going to make better options for you. How is that not a good thing?
Yeah.
It's great, right? And it's just great because Xbox is going to continue to innovate, Sony will innovate, and eventually we're going to just reach an equilibrium between the two. And I think that's good because we all win. Gamers win in that case. And that's my biggest hope.
Competition. That's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I need Xbox to drop something along with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite can't be the lone wolf out here. So I'm just hoping for some surprises come, and they need to hurry up and announce when their E3 briefing is going to be, because I'm patiently waiting to take PTO. I usually take day off. Well, over the last couple of years, it's been on a Sunday, so it's been cool. But E3 I think officially starts on like a Saturday or Sunday this year. It's weird. Saturday. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to change up. Now, Destin, do you have? I mean, I don't know. You have obviously you've been in the industry. You've met a lot of people, talked to a lot of people, and stuff like that. Usually around this time, there's these leaks and rumors come out close enough to E3, and that hasn't happened. And I find myself getting like very, very hungry. Now, there was a lot of talk about Xbox Bethesda. Are they going to do one show? Are they going to do 2 shows? Or Bethesda's still doing their own thing? What is your take after this acquisition? What's going to happen with Xbox and Bethesda in their E3 shows? Because Bethesda usually does a big showcase themselves, and then Xbox obviously does their briefing. And I'm getting like mixed signals of what's what.
So what's the question specifically? Are they going to do it together or separate?
Yeah.
Well, Xbox traditionally during E3 does like a very long conference, right? So I could imagine they do their conference and Bethesda's has a few announcements in there. They could mix them together. I'm fine with either, honestly. It's sort of like an interesting thing that people were... It's bedtime, so it's going to get a little loud here.
No, you're good.
So people were really, really invested in this, and what is Bethesda going to do? What is Xbox going to do? I think either one works totally fine.
But
and for me, it's not that interesting, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like either strategy makes sense and would be successful. So, yay.
So my thing is, because Xbox typically closes the show with like a big game, whether it be from third party, first party. One year it was Cyberpunk, and one year it was Anthem, and they both end up turning out to be not so good. But my thing is, if I'm Xbox, if you have Starfield in your back pocket, do Xbox get Starfield to close the show? Or do they just hold that off to Bethesda? Because that would be, if it's exclusive, in which I believe it'll be exclusive when it releases. That's a pretty big deal to close or to have on your show in some capacity, if they're going to be doing separate shows.
Yeah. So I love how Xbox formatted their previous E3. In hindsight, Cyberpunk didn't turn out to be the game everybody had hoped. I loved Cyberpunk on PC. I agree with the 9 that we gave it on PC. I still had a blast with that game. And I don't of course, if you didn't have an enjoyable experience, I feel bad. I had a great experience. If you didn't, that's terrible. And I'm actually mad. Like, I did the review for the base consoles and I gave it a 4, right? Because I was doing frame rate analysis and I'm like, Dan, I don't like reviewing games. Somebody has to tell people how bad this thing is. I'm like, and I said I'd do it. So I did the review for IGN and they threw it together, over a weekend, and just, it's still a 4. They're never going to fix those base consoles. It will take like years, right? Yeah. But I lost my train of thought there. You were asking me about closing with Starfield. So yeah, I love how they compose their E3 conferences. They're absolutely phenomenal, and I really, really like the pacing. It's like a mixtape. I'm old, so I used to do mixtapes of like your favorite songs. Like track 3, you got to have a banger. You got to open with like a little bit of a get you in the feel of the story you're going to go on throughout this tape, right?
Yeah.
Track 3's got to be good. Track 5 or 7's got to be good, and you got to close with your hit, right? And I think that's Starfield. Starfield exclusively on Xbox. Like, you can't close much stronger than that. Starfield exclusively on Xbox, available now.
That available now would be like great. That would be huge.
I think they're saving that for Psychonauts 2 is like something that can launch immediately. I think just launching this year would be like exciting.
That would be a holiday season game.
Yeah,
so I'm just joking. Yeah,
FISA,
but I do think it'll be exclusive. You don't, and I've said this. You don't spend $7.5 billion to play nice. That's just, and this is just me talking. This is all personal Destin theory stuff, and like where I'm thinking they're at strategy wise. I have no insider info. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, it's bad enough. 2 of their games are already exclusive to the other platform for at least a year. Phaso007 says he said your name wrong. He says, Destin, this is hard news. Say it. I don't know what you mean by it.
Oh my goodness, you don't know? So before gaming news was a thing, I did a show called Hard News. And at the beginning of every show, I'd say, I'm Destin, and this is Hard News. So that's for him, and I still get recognized for that. And then IGN started doing their news about a year later. They started doing the Daily Fix, and sort of the rest is history. Everybody took that format. Format is intro with what you're going to talk about, logo hit, 3 stories, outro. And largely it hasn't changed much in 15 years since I did that.
Wow, that's a good pickup, Faisal. That's it. Wow, okay.
It's not a hard format. It's just a news format.
Yeah.
Like, my inspiration for creating that product, it was actually the Daily DL, and I was getting featured on GameTrailers.com at the time as just like user movies. I did 7 episodes. Craig hired me to do Hard News, and then that's sort of how I got my start in the industry. And I was much more sarcastic, and I told more jokes, and I was angrier. I was a young, angry man back when I did that show.
Wow. There's, when you're watching people, for like just, I only get really one view. Now I get a little bit more because we get the the Destin show, the late night, early morning shows. I usually get to catch the videos on my way to work. So because you're usually one of the first uploads I get. So I'm able to pretty much keep up with your uploads daily. So, but what I was saying is like you'll see people and you'll listen and you kind of get this more so, okay, this is what they do, right? But there's a lot behind there. Like when I seen Ryan get interviewed and hear about his journey, I'm like, holy crap! I was like, there's a lot to these guys. And then I'm like, you know your shit. Not that I ever thought you didn't, but it just never came to mind. It's like, he's really into this stuff, like the whole performance analysis. I didn't know that. Like when I first watched your performance, I thought that was just like something like new, right? And I'm like, holy crap, this is fairly impressive. And then when your next one came, I was like, this dude's great at this. And long behold, you've been doing this for like ever. And but the thing is, it's like from what I'm used to. I watch these guys. I've been watching these. I'm used to this way. And then you do your thing, and then it's like a revelation of just different things. Like, holy crap, this is the direction they can take it. Oh, this is why this stuff is different. Okay, I got to open my eyes up to, you know, multiple sources and how people, because they might have information or detect something that would never caught or never got from this other source. So, like I said, I give you all the props for that. And I'm still, like I said, once again, appreciate you coming through in the clutch for me and then doing such a quick turnaround. Fatherhood is tough. It's fun, but it's tough. I'm happy I got over the early hump where I can let the kids go and play and, you know, and they can just say, be quiet, and they're good. But I do truly appreciate you joining the show, and I'm sticking with it. I can't thank you enough, man. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and Jay, Logan, I know I talked a lot. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I really appreciated hearing about your love for Insomniac and getting to hang out with you guys. This was nice.
Yeah,
not so bad. Not so bad.
Not as bad as everybody was making it out to be. Huh?
No, it's like, well, that's just the thing. I'm just like, what? I'm not supposed to talk to people? Like,
gatekeeping. Yeah. We're gatekeeping. You can't talk to that bot. Shout out to Gaming Addict. I gotta get a Gaming Addict Iron Lords podcast. These are my guys. I love ILP. I love Iron Lords podcast. Lord Cognito, Gaming Addict, King David. Love these guys. He says, huge get for Destin to come to Planet Xbox. We might be getting him on ILP later on this year. Hit that like button, guys. Yeah, the demand for Destin is going up.
Yeah, make sure you guys hit the like button.
I saw a lot in the chat. People were comparing me to Addict.
Yeah, it's not Addict.
It's like, is that Addict? Is that Addict? I'm like,
his face.
Man, I'm my own person.
Addict has the grizzly look too. Like,
I know I got a lot going on.
Before we went,
I kept on seeing it over and over, and someone just said, "Hey, Addict, is that your brother?" No, I'm old man Logan.
Destin,
not Addict's brother.
Different person.
Sorry, at this point, guys.
Destin, before we went live, I say you kind of got the Evan Almighty look today. Like, so, I don't know if you can see when he finally started to grow his beard and stuff like that. But shout out to Gaming Addict. Fazo, he said, I used to watch Destin every hard news on Screw Attack before the game trailers was a thing. Okay. What else we got? Any chats before we get out of here? Because I know you're pressed for time. I don't want to hold you over. Any last minute questions? I believe I got all the super chats so far. But
while we wait for them to catch up, I'll just say, thank you to everybody for watching. I'm pretty open. I'm usually totally fine to answer any questions you might have. Just don't be a jerk. I mean, that's really my only thing, And you guys were totally awesome. So I appreciate being on the show. I appreciate chat. Chat was really cool. Yeah, keep me honest. Call me on it when I make mistakes, and I'll just keep working to do the best work that I possibly can. And Smooth and everybody on the panel, thank you for the props on the performance reviews, man. That's like a passion project. It's one of those things where I did it. I didn't know it'd be a hit, and people just really, really like it. They think it's different enough from Digital Foundry, but it's providing the info, but giving the developers a chance to comment, and I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys do amazing work. You kept me as a viewer and a subscriber, so I don't even want to talk about the day. I remember what the old IGN website used to look like. I remember when the 360 and the PS3 and stuff in the Wii were first announced. You guys changed like the top of the banner to like something. It tried to match the face of the console, and I was like, and I used to refresh it every day because we didn't have Twitter. I either had to go from Electronic Gaming Monthly, Gaming Informer, or IGN was like the quickest way since it was a website versus my monthly magazine. So and then just to watch the transition, and then watching you go from this to, oh my God, he's talking good about Xbox. I can feel good now. But shout out to Destin Legarie. Congrats on 50K. You're going to be at 100K in no time, and hopefully I can get you on again.
Maybe in a few weeks. I'm going to be on a few more other shows. So yeah,
they're doing the tour, the Destin tour.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
Convince them to get me on Unlock. I've been lobbying forever, and I'm like, I'm here. fair. I'm the bot that needs to be on unlocked. But
I'll let Ryan know.
Awesome. And can we just get a bam before we log out?
Oh, hell yeah. Bam!
Nice. All right. McLovin, I see your super chat. Great show. As always, guys, thank you guys for watching. Xbox is the best box, and I am the best bot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. I am out of here. Peace.